All right, welcome back to the internet. Today we're talking about cutting features, not your wrists. Anyways, I wanted to go through some examples of really successful products that have very simple kind of core feature sets and have been able to build really successful businesses off of those. And then I'll talk about my own product and some of the struggles I'm facing and basically how I plan to kind of simplify down to a few features. So anyways, on the first example of this, all right, if you don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to cutting features, what I'm really talking about is like kind of only building a few features into your roadmap. And a perfect example of this is Notion, because Notion, if you've never used it, is basically built on two ideas. So first we have pages. So you can go in a page, you can write. It's a beautiful, like kind of rich text interface where you can create documents or dashboards or whatever. And then the other thing you can do with it is databases. So with a database, you can basically create collections of pages and add attributes to them and organize them, and that allows you to create like really flexible kind of productivity systems for sales or support or onboarding or hiring or whatever you're doing. And so Notion is kind of a perfect example of this philosophy of like kind of cutting features down, paring them down really simply until you have just the core of what you need. And of course, like you can build more features, you can build more stuff to embed into Notion, you can build more ways of using databases. But you really start out with these two core features, and then that's kind of how you find that like product market fit, I think. And then as you like build onto those things, you just add more flexibility, but it already has kind of everything you need built into the core of the product. Another example is Axiom, actually. So Axiom is really interesting. If you don't know Axiom, I had to quit my browser because it was using like 450% of my CPU. But basically Axiom is a analytics tool or an observability tool for your app. So you can send in data. I'm sending data in using OpenTelemetry, and really that allows you to build any kind of dashboard you want. So if you look at something like PostHog, of course they're gonna have certain features you won't, like session replay where you can watch people use your app, but they kind of had this core insight where it's like traces are just logs. A trace like lets you see like kind of how a task progresses in like each step of that task. And so they broke it down into really just like logs. They also ingest traces, but now they have this super flexible platform where you can build whatever dashboards you want around your app and just see like how things are actually going in a really flexible way. And so I've been using Axiom. I really like it for that. And essentially it's like a couple of core features. It's like you can query from your data, and you can also build dashboards, which is literally just building on top of querying. So that's almost like two features, like ingest data, display it, query from it. And they raised like 20 mil. So maybe like $100 million valuation or something like that. I don't know exactly how those funding things generally work. And then, so we'll just do like logging, tracing. And then I have a few more examples written down here, but we have Vercel, obviously they're basically just hosting. Then we have Upstash isn't actually a great example. OpenAI, of course, is just ChatGPT. Attio is like basically the CRM of the future. I really like the idea of Attio, and I'll talk about HighLevel because HighLevel I think kind of did it wrong, which obviously it's like kind of whatever. I don't fault them for it. But with HighLevel, what they have is they have conversations. Okay, so with a conversation, you can like make phone calls, send emails, send texts, things like that in your CRM. But now they also have, they have appointments, they have tasks, they have notes, they have opportunities, which are like deals in HubSpot. Then they have what else do they have? Appointments, tasks, notes, opportunities, contacts. Those are kind of built on top of conversations. So they have a bunch of these different things that really what I think they should have done is because now they're being used so flexibly that opportunities are being kind of bastardized for like every sort of use case that you could imagine. And what I really think they should have done starting out is had just kind of like a central like contact or conversation record with like a phone number, email, name, and you can like send text and stuff, but then really advanced custom objects, because maybe you build in appointments as well as like its own kind of primitive, but really you could also build appointments. You could just have like kind of a template custom object, because now they have this thing called a custom object. So you could have like a template kind of custom object that you bring in to build out appointments, tasks, notes, opportunities, contacts, the whole kind of thing. And now where people are using HighLevel for sales or support or recruiting or whatever, you could basically build it out however you wanted. And I think that would have made their trajectory kind of a lot easier. Yeah, so anyways, I think this is kind of a good example of where things can go wrong when you just like build out all of the primitives yourself, or build out basically like a task and a note. The only difference here is that a task has a due date, but you could just take like a note and add a due date, bam, you have a task. So it's like they build out all these different versions, but really they could just be like basically the same. And then we have examples here of where it goes really well. Obviously Notion's like $1 billion company. Axiom, I'm sure, is on their way, because honestly I chose Axiom. I looked at all these other tools like Sentry and BetterStack and PostHog, all these different ones for kind of monitoring your application, and I was like, I don't really need these. Like this is too much. Like I just want the flexibility. I just want to build what I need to start out, and then as I get more advanced I can build more stuff on top of it. And I think that in the modern day, I think that's what a lot of customers are looking for, and I think that's being validated with a lot of the success of these companies. I mean, HighLevel's just successful, but people are still trying to use it for everything. So now with my SaaS Streamlined, I have a couple of features that I'm actually planning to rip out. Like I kind of overbuilt for them. One of them is ad spend. So I pull in ad spend for my customers from, if you don't know Streamlined, it's like a sales analytics tool for HighLevel. And it'll also be possible, I mean, some people use it for recruiting. It'll in the future, it'll be possible to use it for support as well. But basically with Streamlined, we pull in ad spend data so you can figure out like ROAS, CAC, things like this. And yeah, one of the main things that I'm realizing is that, well, first of all, it's extremely expensive to pull in ad spend data. I use a company called Fivetran. Last month they charged me $5,000. That's with tax, so it's $4,600 in taxes. So I paid $5,100 for Fivetran last month. This month it'll probably be more like $6,500, something like that. So the cost is just getting completely out of hand. It's way too expensive for what it is because it's just a small feature set. And the thing I realized is I recently built in the flexibility to build this out like pretty simply for each customer. A lot of customers don't even use it, but we can literally just build out like, okay, we want to have daily kind of stats around like how much money we spent on ads. All we have to do that is literally just like send a custom event. So we have like if you know PostHog, they have like a custom events API type thing where you just send like events and you say like this thing happened at this time. And so we can literally just do the exact same thing in Streamlined and say like, okay, this was, dude, I just realized I could literally use my own app like PostHog. Bro, like if you just build out these primitives, you'll find so many uses, and now you don't have to like overbuild like all these different features that like 5 people use each. You can just build one kind of central primitive feature that like 10 people, well, like 80 people can, whatever the analogy works out to, that everyone can use for their own use case. And now you're not like pigeonholing people into one use case. They can use your app. I mean, look, obviously one avatar is easiest to sell to, but even the same avatar is going to have different use cases. They're going to have different things they want to track or different things they want to do. And so just giving them that flexibility, I think, is kind of the best way to go about it. But yeah, so we have Fivetran pulling ad spend data. So this, it's super expensive, and then it also takes engineering bandwidth away because I need to replace Fivetran, and doing it myself is a huge task. I mean, even doing it with a team is a huge task, and really like only a small fraction of the customers use it on a daily basis, and it just needs to go. And so that's an example of where it was like, all right, I just need this feature, let me just build it out. But I didn't think about like what things I could do, like the custom events API, that would mean you can still get 90% of the functionality, but I don't have to overbuild, and now I have this feature that other customers can use for other things down the line. Then another thing that I have is this actions tab. So basically you could see like all of your unread conversations or overdue tasks or things like that that need to be reviewed. And what I realized is all you really have to do is basically make it so that like you have custom dashboards that can display unread conversations, overdue tasks. And now, now you don't have to sit there and build out and maintain this entire feature that's only used by like 10 people, so those are really the two main features that I'm planning on cutting pretty soon here. And what we're going to move toward is a 3 kind of pillar approach. Okay. So we have this, and this. These are actually on the dashboard side. So firstly, we're going to have really good dashboards. So some of the best dashboards that you can build with, I mean, look, not better than like Looker Studio or something, because I don't want to build a query language and have to compile that down to SQL and then run it. That's typically what I think you do. And with Looker Studio, obviously, like it's your own database you're pulling from, so you can just have full access. But using like a shared database is a little bit trickier. And anyways, like, and customers don't want to write SQL or like SQL kind of analog most of the time. They just want like a visual builder. And so that's what we're giving them, a really good visual builder to pull out the insights they want. Then the other thing we're working on is analysis. So having better analysis than what's there today, but really flexible analysis. So we can analyze like a support ticket or a new sales lead, or like a job applicant, any type of kind of like conversation or anything that's happening in the CRM. We can basically analyze it as its own thing and assign attributes to that. And then that also ties into the dashboards. And then the last thing is going to be reports. So basically dashboards are like user configurable kind of visual dashboards. Then analysis is back-end workflows that analyze things. And then reports, I mean, look, like we might even decide that reports should just be integrated with analysis, but reports are really like sending something after kind of analysis is done. And typically analysis is like a single kind of object, where it might be like a single phone call or a single lead, whereas reports are going to be like kind of meta reports of like multiple different things. But I mean, maybe we even just consolidate these two things, just analysis and dashboards, because the simpler you can keep it, and if you just have one really simple feature like a page in Notion, and you just keep kind of like adding functionality, adding flexibility, making it more powerful, now all of a sudden like your database schema and your engineering doesn't have to get like insanely complicated, and you're not getting stretched super thin, and you can go really deep and build like really strong features that customers love. And yeah, because I don't know, I think just adding features is kind of like a tar pit. Like if you look at HighLevel, as much as I love HighLevel, I think they kind of have this problem where their engineering team is just spread across like 80 different products. Like I don't even think I'm exaggerating. Like they have so many different like features and products that are all like kind of distinct. And I mean, that's also a lot of the reason people go to them, is because they're kind of an all-in-one. But I still think like if you can do it this way, if you can do it in a way where you have like a few central kind of pillars, is what I call them, that build off of each other and are really powerful on their own, then now you don't have to spread yourself super thin. You can go really deep. I'm repeating myself, so it must be the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more pro 30K a month SaaS tips.